In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear backing plate assembly. On this Chevy Tahoe, this will be located behind your rear brakes. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing you want to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel is off the ground. Once you've done that, you're going to remove all 6 of your 22mm lug nuts. If you have the protective covers, remove those as well. Now that we have the wheel off, the next thing we want to do is remove the caliper from the area. When we do this, we're going to remove the caliper with the bracket at the same time. To remove that, you'll find that you have 2 18mm headed bolts holding this in place. Remove the pair. That's what one of them looks like. We'll give it a close inspection. The next thing I like to do is just put that back in a couple threads and then do the same exact thing to the other one. Take hold of that caliper, give it a little wiggle, and remove it. Once you have the caliper off of the vehicle, go ahead and give those pads a close inspection. Make sure it doesn't look like they're worn at an angle or damaged in any way. Assuming they look good, we can set this aside. Take hold of your brake rotor and remove that from the vehicle as well. With that brake rotor out of the way, have a close look at your parking brake shoe. That makes its way all the way around. You want to make sure it's still in good condition. Otherwise, it should be replaced. Once you've inspected that, we're going to continue on to removing the mounting bracket that holds the parking brake shoe to the rear differential. You'll have 2 of these. To remove this, use an 8mm. Come right in here to the mounting bolt and remove that bolt. Now that I have the first one out of here, we're going to remove the second one, which is located diagonally across from it. Now we can take hold of that parking brake shoe, give it a little wiggle. The next thing we'll do is start lifting it up and off of the adjuster. Now we can make our way to that adjuster. We'll grab onto this here, give that a close inspection. Now let's have a look inside this area. We'll use some long nose pliers. We'll grab onto this, close inspection. We'll wipe it off and set that aside. Now we can start removing the parking brake shoe from this area. To do this, you're going to have to do a little bit of twisting. We'll slide one ear over the axle, do a little twist and slide it out of place. Continue on to removing your inner bracket. To do this, you'll find that you have 4 18mm bolts holding it in place. Remove all 4 of those mounting bolts. There's one, we'll do the same to all. This last one out of here. The next thing we'll do is continue on with a hammer. We want to try to break this bracket free from the rear differential, so I'm going to come along the backside, give this a couple loving bonks. There we are. Now that we have that broken free, let's continue along the back side of the backing plate. Follow that parking brake cable up to the actuator lever. Let's pull this out of place. Now, once you have that lever out of place, we're going to continue on with using two of our mounting bolts. We want to make sure we start this bracket back in place so we can continue removing the rest of that parking brake cable. We'll start in two of these. You do not need to fully tighten them. All we want to do is make it so the bracket will remain still while we continue. Now that we have that so it's mounted in place, but still can move around, we can continue on. The next things that we'll want to use is a trim tool of some sort or small prying device, and also a parking brake cable removal tool. Let's take that small prying device and get right up against the spring. We're going to pull the spring away from the bracket. Once we do so, we can slide the parking brake cable removal tool into place. Now, once you feel as though you have that down onto the plastic area, you can continue on with grabbing onto the cable itself, give it a wiggle, and remove it from the bracket. There we are. Now, once you have that cable pulled down and through, we're going to pull it out of the slot in the bracket. Now we can take that cable and set it aside for now. Now we can remove those two mounting bolts again. Now we can take hold of this, wiggle it around. With it broken free, you can continue on to cutting the backing plate to remove it from the area. This can be done in several ways. We'll just use some cutters. Now, as we make our way around, the area that you're going to have the hardest time removing will be the area that has the emergency brake cable bracket. There it is, friends. Continue on with a wire brush and clean up the area. All right, let's get ready for the installation of our brand new backing plate. Before we continue on to putting this in place, I want to point out these areas right here. Those will fit into the other piece of the backing plate. Once you have everything in place, we'll go ahead and slide this together. Let's take this and get it behind here. We want to make sure that we have this hole where the parking brake bracket will go through. So we'll get that lined up. You want to make sure you press the two pieces together so they're properly aligned. Now we can put in our protective boot. You'll notice looking in the center, it is not centered. You want to make sure you have the longer area facing towards the front. This goes in between the backing plate and the mounting bracket. We'll slide this into place, press it through that backing plate, and then press it into place with the bracket. Now at this point, we can continue aligning the backing plate and the bracket with the rear differential. Now we can start in all 4 of our 18mm bolts. We'll leave this loose and continue on to our emergency brake cable. Let's start with the lever. We'll put this through that mounting boot. Just got to find that center hole, slide it right on through. Slide this right through there. Continue on to the parking brake cable into the bracket. Slide this through there, remove our tool. Double check to make sure that is secured to the bracket. Now we can bottom out all 4 of our mounting bolts and then torque them to 100 foot-pounds. Once all 4 of those mounting bolts are torqued, we're going to continue on to looking at the backing plate itself. On this, you'll find that you have 2 ears that protrude outward a little bit. You want to peen them over up against the bracket. For that, we'll just use a small prying device and a hammer. We'll peen this over. Once both of those are peened down, let's make our way back up to the top of the parking brake bracket. We want to make sure we add some lubricant on each side of this. Put it right inside one of these ports, and the same on the other. Continue on with the piece that has the adjustment cog on it. That goes towards the rear of the vehicle. Now we have the other side with that metal rod. We'll slide this right into place. Now it's time to reinstall our parking brake shoe. As you remember, when we were removing this, you had to come in at an angle and twist it. Now we'll come up nice and high over this area and bring it down over these 2 slots. Spread the shoe as needed. Continue on with your 2 brackets and mounting bolts. When we put this in place, you want to make sure you have this area pressing up against the inside of the shoe, holding it towards the backing plate. Start in that 8mm headed mounting bolt and snug it up. Right there is where it feels as though it bottomed out. We'll just make sure it's snug. There we are. Double check to make sure your shoe is nice and tight. Now let's continue on to cleaning the hub mating surface. Once that's clean, apply some copper anti-seize. We'll clean the backside of our rotor. Install your brake rotor. Now we can continue on to reinstalling our brake caliper. Start in both of your caliper bracket bolts, snug them up, and then torque them to 148 foot-pounds. Continue on to reinstalling your wheel. Start on all 6 of your 22mm lug nuts, bottom them out, get the wheels safely back on the ground, and then torque each of them to 140 foot-pounds. With the wheel back on the ground, we'll torque these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you had your little covers, make sure you apply those now. Okay friends, we showed you how to do one side of your rear backing plate assemblies. The process for one side of the vehicle will be the exact same thing for the other. Aside from that, take your vehicle for a road test, make sure you don't hear any funny noises. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.